now?
We've got some of my favourite books here on the table in front of me, and even just seeing them now is bringing back so many memories. Why I started to write in the first place, and what I really survived on that fed my hunger to make me feel like I wanted to write for the rest of my life. Should we go through them?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, my favourite writer of all time, he's the king in my head, is Roald Dahl. I've got 2 Roald Dahl books here. I couldn't pick one, and I say these are my favourite, but they're all my favourite. So it's really hard. But these 2 just seem to jump out to me.
So you've got the Witches.
I've got
and
the
BFG.
Witches and I've got the BFG. It's really hard for me to say just simply what Roald Dahl's done for my head and my heart in terms of creatively. But just to try and sum it up, to try and translate that to people watching. I guess it's the freedom that he has with his words. I never felt as a young person that he patronised me or made me feel like I was tiny. He made me feel grown up and spoke to me, I guess, like he would speak to anybody. I also liked him that he was so brave and raw in the way that he wrote. His imagination was just like a treasure box that I just felt like I could get lost in. And I still really look up to him and still feel like I'll never ever be as good as him. And it angers me every day that he's not alive, but I can't ask him all the questions like, what side of the bed do you sleep on? How do you have your tea? Do you pick your nose? Do you use Q-tips? I want to know everything. I'm obsessed with him.
I think he probably would have done that.
I think he's a Q-tip man, definitely. So in terms of his writing, I just felt like he had such a broad, colourful imagination. It's one of a kind. And the whole thing, I felt like without doing nothing, he seemed to sort of conjure up some sort of very story writer image about himself and writing in his shed and the way he was. So I try and incorporate everything I can into his work, and I use his name every time I talk to children, every time I bring him up. So I think it's important to have idols, people to look up to that make you do what you do.
So do you think it's that very imaginative part of his writing that is kind of the real key thing, the real painting a picture in your mind of all those amazing characters and unusual stories and the kind of English crazy things?
And it's the marriage of normal, everyday sort of lifestyle with the surreal and the abnormal sort of, getting through his work, and lacing his work with that magic is what makes it come to life. People fall in love with the characters like Charlie Bucket, and then suddenly you've got this whole Willy Wonka factory, or you've got, in the BFG, you've got this whole dream factory, but happening in this orphanage, so the characters that he chooses are so, relatable, and then these massive journeys happen out of nowhere, and that's what really grabs you, and that's what I try and do, especially in my new book, Darcy. Darcy's a writer herself, and so the stories they live from her imagination, and they really need that to take to that next level. They need to grab the audience first, and then once they're on the journey, strapped in, and you can go wherever. And that's definitely been Dahl influenced.
Right, okay, well that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And so this is your new book, Darcy Burdock, let's just say for the record as well.
Yeah. Writers are like fairies, and if you don't support us, we die. Yeah.
Okay, well that's great. So it's a really good place to
We've
start.
got more we could talk about.
Let's talk about another one.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to
I'll talk about Peter Pan. I didn't know this. I didn't have Peter Pan and Wendy, but maybe the Wendy lovers were feeling left out.
I think it's all about,
It's all about
equal opportunities.
Yeah, equal opportunities, bigging up the females. I'm up for that. So move over Peter Pan. Peter Pan's actually a really hard book. Have you ever read it?
Yes, I think
It is
but a long
hard,
time ago.
and it's really difficult. And when you're young and you read Peter Pan and you get it, understand it, not just from a Disney film, you feel like a champion boss. It's a hard book.
Yeah.
Also,
I feel like I need to read it again.
Yeah, you need to. It's really hard, and when you get it, and you don't ever bother with Moby Dick, that's really hard. But this book is really hard, and there's also a dog that is a babysitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And who's not going to love reading about a dog that's a babysitter?
Isn't the dog?
Nana.
It's called Nana.
It's
It's
Nana.
called Nana.
And it's
Yeah.
a babysitter. Yeah. I love that. Again, it's this whole thing of something really normal, parents going, living in this normal London flat, everything just being relatable. I say normal, they were quite rich. But, living, apart from being very, very rich, everything's, again, you can just identify with it, relate to it, and then suddenly this magnificent journey comes out of nowhere, and that is what I love. these things being, you know, it finishes and you think, did that actually happen or not? And I think that's the power of books, that it can take you absolutely anywhere. Imagine a child who doesn't have much money or is challenged at home or deprived and can open up a book and suddenly go to Neverland. That's exactly why I write, for that reason. So, apart from the difficulty of the actual text, it's amazing, and also it's so clever. There's so many beautiful phrases in there. The writers, you know, it's beautiful. So there's that. The Lorax.
Great, Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched the film and I didn't love it.
I haven't seen it.
I didn't
love
love it, but the book is amazing, and I feel like this is a really lovely cover as well. They've done a really good job here.
It's a really nice edition.
Yeah, I really like this edition. And it's good to keep things flat in it. If you need to bring a birthday card or something, you can carry it in this.
Practical use for the book.
Yeah,
as well as
it's a really good one.
story.
So the Lorax is really good. It's actually great for people that are interested in the environment. It's a very green book. It's about how to look after the planet, which actually was the first way that I learned about how to look after the planet, was thanks to this book. So actually, the message was being spread correctly. I love the main character of the Lorax, and the once-liner. So it's just such a brilliant, again, okay, all the books I picked are bonkers. Nothing's normal. Everything's bonkers. But I love the rhyming in this. So rhyming and poetry are really important to me. And in Darcy Burdock, we've hidden a few poems in there as well. A little bit like vegetables hidden in the mashed potato when you feed it to a baby.
Yes.
We've hidden a few poems in Darcy. And this really is pushing rhyme to the boundaries and to the level that you can take it to. It's so brave and absolutely bonkers and brilliant, and actual mouth glory to say the words is just, oh. The pictures are fantastic. You can see why, I mean, it was animated. Let's look at some, okay? Just going to find a really good one. I mean, I love this house. So the illustration that I do, I'm not at all as good as this. If I could be as good as this, my whole life would be bliss. But I still do it anyway. But these kind of pictures are really the sort of stuff that inspires me, things like this. Wouldn't you just love that on your wall?
And they're really colourful, and they've got these strange...
Yeah.
I always found slightly spooky characters, but in a good way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be dark, this book too, because obviously it's about the environment and the planet and how that we are abusing it really with the factories and stuff. So it makes sense that things are a little bit grey and dark and not quite right. And that's what I love. I love things that are a bit spooky as well. So it's lovely that you've got juxtaposed all these colourful, brilliant images next to the dark, scratchy lines that are everywhere. It's a bit, as you say, a bit haunting. And then another haunting book is, of course, Where the Wild Things Are.
It's a lovely book.
My mum and I had such a strong relationship with this book. She still carries a full-blown, massive Where the Wild Things Are, this big key ring attached to her keys.
Wow.
Not that that's inconvenient. That's how magical this book was to us. And Maurice Sendak, all of his work, just like Roald Dahl, has influenced me in so many ways. The illustration is breathtaking, and I could look at them forever. Again, it's this whole idea of Max being sent to his bedroom after being told off, and in his brain, I basically believe that you're not allowed to be bored. Boredom is not allowed. It is illegal to be bored. And anyone that says, I am bored, they just can't be my friend, because you cannot be bored.
Don't be bored.
Don't be bored, or you cannot be my friend, and that is the truth. Our grandmas, like my grandma, had no toys or hardly anything to play with, and we've got so much. We are spoiled. We've got all these books that they've read. That there's just more and more coming out all the time, and there's so much to read. You can't be bored. This is the brilliant sort of idealism. Nice little pan drop in there for you. This is the absolute evidence that you cannot be bored, that it is illegal to be bored. Max in his room, absolutely nothing, and then out of nowhere, full-blown forest is going to grow, massive jungle, all these brilliant beasts coming out of nowhere. I love this book. I love the lines. So, and I picked this book. I know that you're probably too old for this book, and you're thinking, I read that when I was like 5. I get it, I know that. But actually, what's amazing, that adults can still read this book. I know loads of adults that would still say this is one of their favourite books. I get it, it's a short read, it's brisk, but you could spend so long on the pages looking at the detail, and plus the lines. There'll be like, I mean, there's not even any words on this page, but look where your imagination could take you. You could go on forever.
I always thought that Max's expressions are a really key part of
Oh,
his
like
work.
this one. Look at that. He's so pompous.
Yeah, and I love that.
And these are so fascinated with him. That's what's so amazing, because it's about using your brain, and this is why it's inspiring, because he's getting one up on them so he doesn't get eaten. Things like this, right? Let the wild rumpus start. I mean, you could spend ages thinking about what that wild rumpus might be. I just love this book. I'm there already. And I felt like the film was really good, so you should watch the film too, because it's not babyish, don't worry. I love this book. And another reason why it's important to me as well is I love when things aren't coloured the way they're supposed to be coloured. So I always draw pink pineapples. And this is inspired by the pink leaves on the trees here. You would love one of these on your wall, wouldn't you?
Oh, I love it.
You would love one. And you would love to wear this fox suit every day. I know you would.
Or on Sundays, maybe.
Okay, Sundays.
For me, Sundays.
Okay, I'm fine
Yeah.
on Sundays.
No.
Me every day.